Hello, everybody, and welcome to another educational video brought to you by DAS Trader. Today's event is on Bollinger Bands, Part 7, Configuring and Using Bollinger Bands to Trade. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. My name is J DiGioia. I've been a trader for 23 years, native New Yorker, pretty much did everything that you can imagine on a trading desk, from trading desk manager all the way down to a trigger pulling trader, risk manager, and of course, market maker. I started my own educational company in 2005. Prior to that, I was the director of education for a major educational firm, traveled all over the world teaching students and professional trading desks how to trade. As the owner of my own company, I traveled all over the world and taught more people how to trade, specifically using my own techniques and tactics. I'm still a licensed securities professional, and I work here at DAS Trader as the Director of Education and Director of Institutional Sales. So I love talking about Bollinger Bands because it's one of the few indicators that I actually know the founder, John Bollinger, the gentleman who invented the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Band is a technical analysis tool defined by a set of trend lines, plotted two standard deviations, positive and negatively, away from a simple moving average, okay, at the security's price, but which can be adjusted to the user's preferences as well. Okay, Bollinger Bands were developed, okay, by and copyrighted by famous technical trader John Bollinger. I met John Bollinger during a series of live events hosted by another trading seminar company, where I traveled to a number of events and had the benefit of meeting John Bollinger on a bunch of occasions. So for me, it has a very personal element to it. John Bollinger designed the Bollinger Bands to discover opportunities that gave investors a higher probability of properly identifying when an asset was overbought or oversold. And if you notice, overbought or oversold tends to be a reoccurring theme when it comes to oscillators and indicators. So let's jump to the charts and take a look at what Bollinger Bands look like and how they are used with DAS Trader. DAS Trader has a really amazing charting application, very, very powerful charting application. I think that very often people overlook how powerful the charts are on DAS Trader. And I'm just going to show you, and one of the things I like about Bollinger Bands, as opposed to the various different indicators that we've covered so far, is that Bollinger Bands are pretty straightforward. They don't have, they are overlaid on price and volume. They're not an oscillator indicator like the RSI up here, or the CCI, or the MACD here at the bottom. So for the purpose of making things clean and very visible, I'm going to take these out of my chart. So let's take these out, go to chart area, we hit remove area, we go to chart area, remove area, and then we just go chart area, remove area. And I'm also going to go to my indicators, study config, and I'm going to take out my volume by price, and I'm going to add on my Bollinger Bands. Okay, and voila, we have our Bollinger Bands. I'm also going to just put on a trending, something that's trending, like Apple. Apple's been trending down lately. Okay, actually, let me also put on something that's just let me see, Tyson Foods. It's pretty. Tell you why I'm looking for certain stocks that meet a certain criteria. Let's see. I think Facebook might be a good one. Nope, not yet. Let's just let's take a look at Tesla, TSLA, and then we're going to look at the actual bands themselves. Well, dyslexia sunk in there. There's Tesla. That's the one I was looking for. Okay, perfect. So let's just go in and use my Bollinger Bands, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit right there. Pull out right on that. Perfect. So let's just take a look at the Bollinger Band settings. Okay, just click on Bollinger Bands. You double click on the actual chart, go to Bollinger Bands. And here we go. Standard deviation set to the default 2. Source is on close. Length is 10. Line style, we're fine. Color. I tend to like to use a different color rather than white. I'm going to use blue. And as for the middle line, hit OK. Middle line, I'm going to use orange, yellow rather. Okay, so I got blue. I'm going to probably use orange. You're going to see why in just a second. I'm also going to take my moving averages off. All right, so there is a very clear example of Bollinger Bands, okay? So we have this is called the lower envelope. This is called the upper envelope, okay? So we got the lower envelope, the upper envelope, upper line, lower line, middle line. And what you'll see is that when a stock is consolidating, the bands will start to constrict. Now, I want to play with some of these settings a little bit. Let's say I set this to 1 standard deviation. Notice how it contracts, okay, and squeezes on the price. Okay, and this is a great way to really play with your indicators. If we go to 3 standard deviations, now the envelopes are far away from all available price. At 2 standard deviations, what happens is that occasionally price will go outside the upper envelope, which would be overbought. And sometimes price will go under the lower envelope, which would be oversold. These would be the key points. This would be where you would buy. And I'm just going to click on here. I'm going to put some little rectangles here. This is where you would buy. This is where you would buy. Okay. And this is where you would potentially sell. Now, look, I mean, in this instance, okay, you would start to see, and you maybe would not have sold here because the middle line never got violated. Okay, it's riding the middle line. So as long as price stays above the middle line after a trend is established, you're technically supposed to stay in. Until here. That would have caught. Now, the other thing I'd like to point out is this how the bands constrain and they start to squeeze in a consolidation. That also tells you that a big breakout is near. And if you notice on Tesla, we were forming a very big bull pennant. There was a breakaway gap. The oversold buy indication was a great indication here. And of course, we had a tremendous run to the upside. And that really is the perfect situation for Bollinger Bands. I'm going to bring up GLD. And I'm going to go back a little bit because there was a tremendous breakout on gold. Maybe I'll just go on to the weekly chart. Should indicate as well. I'm gonna have to. Too far. It's too long ago now. So let's see if I can find another one. Let's actually, it's a GBTC. Let's just look at this from the perspective now. GBTC is Bitcoin. It is the ETF. It's the grayscale Bitcoin ETF. And I just want to show you that if you look at this, this actually is interesting. It's very volatile. But right there is the buy. And we actually just got a sell of being overbought. Okay. Let's just see if that happened anywhere else. Got a buy. Certainly that would have probably, made you nervous at the very least. Definitely would have been a sell area here. And if not here, certainly somewhere here. But needless to say, a very, very big run up. Potentially a buy here with a potential sell here. I'm gonna make this a very wide sell because I want to pierce the middle line here. But you guys get the gist. Very, very powerful indicator. You don't need a lot on your chart. Great standalone indicator. Throw in some of the things that we've already learned about to complement it. For instance, what else could we add in here? So we're going to add in a chart area above. Okay, I'm going to add my CCI. Now we have the CCI, okay, giving us a sell signal and a buy signal. So the CCI certainly complemented the buy signal here. Definitely has a nice complement of the buy signal there, and certainly a divergence here, right? The CCI has a head and shoulders here. Now let's throw on and add the RSI. So we have a complemented RSI to the CCI as well as the Bollinger Bands. We'll just take off all these because we don't necessarily need to see them. Okay, and if we want to, we can even throw back on our add chart area below. Okay, we're going to move this right on down. Actually, no, we'll just leave it right up here. We're going to add in our MACD. And guys, I want you to realize something. I didn't have to reconfigure anything, right? See how Dash Trader saves your chart settings? So once you've configured your indicator, you don't have to go and reconfigure it again. It saves those settings in your chart. Okay. So I got my price and my volume, and I got my 3 indicators right here. And here's my Bollinger Bands. Now, what did I teach you how to do already? Always save your work. Always save your work. There's nothing like having to do the work over again. So certainly I'm going to get rid of, we don't need to do price by volume. We don't need moving average pair. On this one, we're going to do, on the top, we have the MACD, right? And you're learning also to label correctly, right? Just list the name of the indicator, CCI and Bollinger Bands. Okay, so now we got all of our indicators on here, and I just saved that chart. So if I want to pop up my charts very, very quickly, I can bring up a chart with all of my key indicators. Now let's jump back and talk about some of our key takeaways. All right, so some key takeaways about Bollinger Bands. Okay, so Bollinger Bands are a technical analysis tool developed by John Bollinger for generating oversold and overbought signals. There are three lines that compose Bollinger Bands: a simple moving average, the middle band, the upper and lower band. The upper band is typically 2 standard deviations away from the 20-day simple period moving average. And we already learned about moving averages previously. And the Bollinger Band is kind of a combination that uses standard deviations as well as the moving averages all rolled up into one. So what do you want to do next? Okay. The next steps, if you want to continue learning with me, you can certainly do so by going to Learning Day Trading, and you can scroll down to my name and you can find out about how you can coach with me. And you can click on the introductory session, which is a 30-minute introductory session where we can work on your trading plan, see how to improve your trading. Especially, I always try to focus on trading consistency, especially now that we're going into a very volatile market. Anytime you have inflationary situations, markets tend to get more volatile, tends to be really, really good for value stocks and not so good for growth companies. So certainly a great time if you have some gains to reinvest a little bit of money into yourself and work with a coach. If not me, then certainly somebody else. I thank you so much for joining me today. Get ready for our last and final section to this 8-part series, which is volume weighted average price, VWAP, one of my favorite indicators. Certainly being a professional trader, we lived and died by VWAP, volume weighted average price. And I hope you enjoyed this little lesson on Bollinger Bands. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Certainly subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Look forward to seeing you in one of our upcoming sessions. Thank you.